Questions that we're going to have today. First of all, Caleb's going to talk about the UN offering Africa 2 permanent seats on its Security Council, as well as walkie-talkies and pagers. The other topic we're going to talk about is the migrant situation of the Haitians in Springfield. And then we're going to close off with TikToks as being the latest news source. So, Caleb, with you being our African news extraordinaire, would you please enlighten us about the permanent seats on the UN Security Council and this walkie-talkie and pager situation as well?
Okay, sure. So I think we'll tackle the UN topic first. So basically, the United States is supporting 2 permanent seats on the UN Security Council for African nations. So basically, they want to give two seats on the UN Security Council to African nations. And so there's a couple of ways to look at this. Now, one, and I think the most important thing to know about these 2 seats is that while they are 2 permanent seats, they're not rotating seats. And while they will be 2 voting seats, they do not have the power of the veto. So like the 5 permanent seats on the Security Council all have veto power. So China can veto, the US can veto, UK can veto, Britain can veto, France can veto, and Russia, of course, Russia. So, the African seats won't have veto power.
And why is that?
So that's the problem now. So it's to me, it's like, we're going to give you seats at the table, but they're kiddie seats. You know what I mean? They're booster seats. And so the African nations are, it appears to me that they're happy just to be getting a seat at the table, not caring that it's a diminished seat or not an important seat. It kind of reminds me of them granting a rotating seat for African nations at the G20. But they're non-voting seats at the G20. So, you keep giving African nations child seats. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, we're going to let you come sit at the big boy table, but you got to be quiet. You know what I mean? And so that's the problem with these seats. And I hope the people don't fall for this. The other problem with this is, to me, when you look at it in context, you look at some of the things that are going on right now in the African continent. You have the Pan-African payment system, so they're going to integrate payments. You have the African Free Trade Agreement. You have a lot of movement on that continent for integration. A lot of regional blocks, a lot of trade blocks. There's a lot of movement towards more cooperation, lowering borders, more integration. And now, by doing this, they're saying, hey, look, we're going to give you 2 seats. You guys pick the 2 seats. Who's going to be on those 2 seats? So instantly, you're going to cause division because those nations are going to be arguing and fighting over who gets those 2 seats. Does Nigeria get a seat? Does South Africa get a seat? And then you're going to have nations like Egypt saying, well, why only the African or the black folks getting the seats? You know what I mean? So it's going to cause, at a moment where you have a lot of synergy towards cooperation and unity, they throw this monkey wrench in there. And it's like, okay, we're going to break this up. So those are the issues with those 2 seats. One, they're child seats, and 2, it seems that these seats are really, really going to cause a lot of dissension among those African nations.
Okay.
So the other issue, the pagers.
The pagers and the walkie-talkies.
Pagers and the walkie-talkie. It's, of course, an Israeli operation. Okay. Hezbollah passed out pagers to its members. Of course, they rotate pagers, they rotate cell phones, they rotate walkie-talkies often. And so there was an operation to target Hezbollah members by putting explosive in these devices. The operation was successful. They killed 97 Hezbollah people. The issue is they wounded over 3,000 people. So these pagers were exploding in marketplaces. These pagers were exploding. People who had nothing to do, who were not members of Hezbollah, were wounded or killed, gravely injured with these pager attacks. So it's an indiscriminate attack. And so you can view this as an Israeli terrorist attack. because over 3,000 people who were wounded, and a lot of those people were not members of Hezbollah.
And Hezbollah is a lot different than Hamas.
Hezbollah is not Hamas. And so that's the other scary part about this, is because it's going to widen this conflict. When the world is calling for this conflict to be widened down, of course, you have the Biden administration says this needs to wind down. Everybody's saying this needs to wind down. 6 months ago, we were at 40,000 Palestinian deaths. You see those deaths haven't been really widely reported in the news anymore.
Right.
And so an Israeli operation has continued unabated. So if we were at over 40,000 deaths 6 months ago, you can only imagine what they are now. So again, this war is continuing. It's continuing unabated. There's been numerous operations since then, airstrikes, ground operations. And so you can only imagine what the casualties are right now. This war is not winding down. As a matter of fact, Netanyahu seems to have expanded it greatly with this attack, because there's a major difference between Hamas and Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a lot more organized. They are a lot larger.
And they play the longer game too.
And they have a lot more money, a lot more funding. Hamas, it operates as an organization within the Palestinian Authority. Hezbollah basically controls Lebanon. They are basically in control of a nation state.
And so why is Netanyahu, what is his issue with Lebanon?
Well, I mean,
have they run out of, have already blown up Gaza to the point where they got to go, they need to move
no
somewhere
more targets, right?
else?
So, I mean, again, if you remember, we all go back to the beginning of the war, people were saying Netanyahu, he has to go. It was an intelligence failure. It was a failure of leadership. And Netanyahu was already in trouble in Israel. And so once this Palestinian attack, this Hamas attack occurred, they were really saying he has to go. When this is all over, he has to go. Netanyahu has no reason to end this war, because once this is over with, he has to go.
Okay.
So he has every incentive to continue to extend this war, to expand this war, because it keeps him in power. You know what I mean? So, but again, this is a wider conflict, because there's a difference between Hamas's relationship with Iran and Hezbollah's relationship with Iran. And so if Hamas is Iran's stepchild, Hezbollah is their baby and their favorite child. And so you have, it's going to bring Iran more into this conflict, and it's going to bring Hezbollah fully into this conflict. And so, like, again, Hezbollah is I mean, if Hamas is a 100-pound gorilla, Hezbollah is a 10,000-pound gorilla, and they have an army. And so when you can see Hezbollah pouring over that northern border in Israel. It's an expansion. So whereas they don't have an air force like the Israelis, they have a lot of people who are very dedicated, a lot of troops, a lot of people, and they've been around for quite some time. So yeah, it's a widening of the conflict.
Okay. So our next topic are the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. Now, I'm truly biased on this topic in that, not that I'm Haitian, but this whole incident in Springfield kind of reminds me of similar lies placed on a Black community to the point where destruction occurs. Black Wall Street, Rosewood. You have all these Black communities who have lost lives behind a lie. And so one of the things that I did was I went back to try to figure out what was going on with, how did this story even come into play? Well, let's roll it back. There was an incident of an American woman who was a resident of a mental institution who got loose, who was beating up and stomping on a cat and ate the cat. Now, the woman was American. Now, now the Haitians in Springfield, how they ended up in Springfield was like this. They, first of all, Ohio, and you got to figure out how far the Haitians had to move from Haiti to Ohio. So they did not come into this country illegally. They got permission to go to Ohio from not only Springfield, Ohio mayor, but the governor of Ohio as well, because Americans, we have a habit of not doing some of the jobs that we complain immigrants take. So Springfield was on the point of financial devastation. And when the Haitian says, let us come, can we please come to Ohio to work? The mayor and the governor went into overdrive working to get these people into Springfield, to where they had the immigration attorneys involved. They were even given temporary protective status. And President Biden extended that status for them. So when Trump talking about they're eating cats and dogs, that put a bullseye on this Haitian community, where now schools have been targeted with bomb threats, hospitals have been targeted with bomb threats. They had to bring in the National Guard. You got the Proud Boys marching through the city, causing all kind of unnecessary disruption to these people's lives. So now we have a situation to where Trump talking about he's what's going to go up to Springfield to campaign, but the governor says, no, you're not coming into Springfield. So these lies that are being generated for campaign purposes, either Trump's lying, J.D. Vance is either accentuating the lie with more lies. It's devastation, and people will get hurt from lies. People are going to get hurt. People will get hurt. And again, schools being bombed, that takes it to a whole new level than a regular school shooting.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to my schools being bombed, hospitals being bombed. The bombing hasn't occurred, but it had the bomb threats.
Right.
So the lies, there's power behind a lie. And Trump is going across the country spreading this lie. And interesting enough, Trump's campaign people said that what he was saying was not true.
Right.
Was not true. So we've got a situation to where an immigrant community who is legally in the United States with temporary protective status, trying to work, trying to improve their lot in life, because they had to leave Haiti because of the threat in Haiti.
Right.
Now they're in the United States seeing the threat coming in. Yeah.
So, and the thing about this is this lie that Trump was told, right? And it's of course has been this has been debunked, right? So many times. And so the woman who originally made that Facebook post based on a statement by her neighbor that her cat was missing. So the woman made a post about the Haitians may have taken the woman's cat, you know what I mean? And so the woman has apologized. She's debunked it. And here's the crazy part about it. The neighbor's cat was found in the basement, the neighbor's basement. So the neighbors come out and said, you know what, my cat, both women have apologized. They've apologized to the community. They've apologized to the Haitian community. They've apologized to the nation. Like I said, the woman later found her cat in the basement. The woman who originally posted on Facebook has apologized and has debunked it. So no one is eating cats. It's a racist trope. It stems back to black people or African people being cannibals, and all the kind of stuff with the bones in the head, the bones in the nose, and all kinds of stuff. And so it's a Trump campaign playbook to otherize folks, to make it a us versus them campaign, whereas you see Kamala's making it it's all of us together, supporting democracy. The Trump campaign is double down on no, it's us versus them. It's our way of life versus them. And so that's basically what this is about. You know what I mean? And so this campaign to otherize and demonize, and so that campaign is doubling down. He is right now in a mode where he understands he's not going to broaden his coalition, so he's going to double down on his white coalition, his white base. And if he can stroke division and otherism and racism, whatever he can do to double down on that, that's what mode that campaign is in right now.
Now, interesting enough, several news sources went out to Springfield to talk to community members and even the mayor. And everybody is saying that these people are harmless.
They wanted them there.
Yeah, because they needed them there. In fact, the mayor was saying that because they're there, the economy has turned around. So my heart is going out to where, and unfortunately, there's some Black folks who feel that they are privileging the area. Who, here in San Antonio, saying they're going up there terrorizing folks, they're causing crimes and stuff, and it's just not so. So this lie builds upon lies, builds upon lies.
And according to FBI statistics, immigrants commit less crime than American citizens do. And those are FBI statistics that you could easily Google and search. But,
we also got to remember that these people are on protective, temporary protective status. So they're not going to act up.
Right, they're not going to. I mean, they just don't. There's a different value system in a lot of countries that are outside of the United States. There's a completely different value system.
And they asked to go there and got permission to go up there. So I don't know what Trump's talking about. I don't know what JD's talking about. I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
Right. Again, they're doubling down on racism and otherism and division. And trying to stoke that division and get people to the polls with this imaginary immigrant crime wave that the FBI has debunked over and over and over again. And so, again, you went from being able to move J.D. Vance and his motherless cat women to the Democrats and the Haitians are eating your pets. So it's changing the dynamic. You have one who was one of them, the Marjorie Taylor, whatever one, she shot her dog, and so now if you take one party who's proven to be against animals and being humane to animals, and you switch that to the other party, I mean, it's all election year politics. You know what I mean? And so again, I hope people do clearly see through it. But again, it's racist, and anybody who don't see it for what it is, and any Black people who continue to carry water for the Trump campaign, who continue to ignore what they've said, ignore their actions, ignore what they've done, they have serious mental issues.
Yes, I agree. And then finally, where do you get your news from?
Not TikTok. TikTok.
Well, it turns out that a whole lot of people are getting their news from TikTok. Yeah. Now, I have TikTok, and admittedly, I don't go to TikTok first thing in the morning or anything like that. In fact, I probably don't even go to TikTok unless someone sends me something or something has come across my phone for me to look at. But people are going to TikTok for their news. And I'm guessing now, TikTok is short, put things in short segments to where people are getting their have it your way type news delivery. It's fast. It's enough for them to understand what's going on. But TikTok is changing. It's changing from the crazy dances to now it's a news source.
Right. And you really don't get the full context. You know what I mean? In a short TikTok bite, it's hard to delve into nuance and context and really get the full story. And so that's one of the things about people who, and I understand a lot of the younger generation are turning to TikTok. They're only getting a piece of the story and not getting the full story. And that's probably why they're so ill-informed. You know what I mean? And that may also be why the statistics are the way they are, where people who are not college educated or kind of voting or geared toward the Trump administration, because a lot of these people, most college educated folks are going to have a variety of
do a little bit more
of news sources, and they're going to do more research and but let me just to talk a little bit more about that though. TikTok is dangerous. And getting your news source from TikTok is dangerous. And I'll tell you why. Because China still controls the algorithm for TikTok. Okay? And so that means that you're getting the news that China wants you to get. And China has a very sophisticated intelligence operation to where they understand this country, they understand how to stoke division in this country. And so one of the mechanisms that they will use is TikTok to stoke division, to tell you how divided you are, how different your neighbor is, or to stoke racism in this country, or stoke racial divide. So TikTok is very, very dangerous. And if that's your only source of news, then you're falling for Chinese propaganda.
Okay.
So that's and it's the same thing with TikTok. They have a different algorithm for the United States than they have for China. In China, the kids' TikTok is about kids winning spelling bees, kids excelling in math contests, kids in science contests. Here, the TikTok we see is about Tide Pods and Tide Pod challenges and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, it's a completely different TikTok, but they've now weaponized it to where they realize that they can use it as a disinformation source. So it's very dangerous. So please diversify your sources of information.
I agree. And even though this wasn't on our list, I just want to bring it something that I saw just the other day. Alaska is sitting in a very interesting position right now. Russia and China are working together to try to figure out how to infiltrate Alaska, even more so. So we're going to have to kind of keep our eye on that, because I did hear somewhere that the Republicans' focus about being invaded has always been from the South. But I did read somewhere else that the invasion will come in from the North. And so with Russia and China looking at Alaska, there may be some truth to that last statement, that if we're going to get invaded, it could come from the North.
Well, and the other thing about that too, yeah, I mean, that's always been a possibility. Even during the Cold War, troops coming across the Bering Strait from Russia and coming into Alaska, taking out Canada, and then coming, but no, that's always been a very real possibility. The other thing about that is Russia needs to be careful because when the Russian bear cozies up to the Chinese dragon, the dragon will eat the bear. Russia, Siberia, the Siberian part of Russia is filled with resources: oil, gas, gold, uranium, iron ore. And you have a China who's sitting there
trying to figure out how to get to it.
Yeah. So the Russian bear needs to be very, very careful about that Chinese dragon that he's friends with. But no. And I do have another piece of news that wasn't included.
What?
Kenya is, as you're well aware, most of the world's population is declining except the African population.
Okay.
Europe's population is in decline a lot, and it's affecting the European economy. Germany is bringing in something like 250,000, anywhere between 235 to 250,000 workers from Kenya.
Oh.
Yeah. So Germany's trying it first, bringing in 230. Now, my thing is this: the last time Europe went to get workers from Africa, it didn't work out too well for a lot of us. So be careful in that space where you have this idea of bringing in African workers. European countries bringing in African workers. So that's
the kind of suspect.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? We tried that, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that is very interesting. So they're first, and we'll see what happens to France and Spain and Italy and the rest of the populations with countries with their own declining population. So we've heard Japan ringing the alarm about their declining population, and it's happening all over the world where people have these declining populations, and the only place that has a population that is increasing drastically is Africa. So we got to watch that space.
Well, we had a great time today on Hot Topics, didn't we?
Yep.
The whole day was interesting.
Yep.
But as we like to, first of all, before we close off, we want to thank our two producers, Carl Booker and Annelle Taylor. Without them, our shows could not come to you. So we want to give them a quiet shout out and soft clap. We also want to thank our viewers. We're slowly growing, and that's fine. But at least we're growing, and so we want to thank you for looking at us, for finding out about us, for making comments. But because of you, we are here. And as we say in Contemporary Black Voices, this is Contemporary Black Voices, where we tell our stories our way.
All right.